easily be an Aghanim required seed. So there are some benefits to getting it nice and early.
It looks like we're off.
There we are. Uncle is rushing out the door to go, make it 10 feet.
And the uncle's rushing out the door with a sword, which guarantees our sword from the uncle.
Indeed, in that first chest there was bombs, so no bomb farming required. They just already have them.
Yeah, bombs and the sword already. Fantastic. So yeah, a red crystal up in Torafera and a standard crystal at Eastern. I didn't quite catch Desert Palace.
Desert was also a crystal, so that's pretty much the ideal layout you want to see.
Yeah, it's a lot of crystals that leaves lots of long dungeons as pendants. We'll probably end up in them anyway, knowing this version.
Unless you end up, getting Pod and Skullwoods and Thieves Town as pendants, and it's like, oh, those are the 3 dungeons I actually wanted to do in the Dark World.
That would be a touch unfortunate.
Only $20 in the first chest in the escape here. You do want to try to get to 50 before you get to Kakariko, because that gives you enough to be able to afford Bottle Vendor with all the bombs that are just around this town to begin with.
Yeah, there's a fair few rupees kicking about in Blind Shot and whatnot. Hopefully we'll hit the 50 comfortably.
And to those wondering, it seems like Dataworld has kind of a long stream delay. It will be synced up once it gets going, but in the meantime, we're going to keep an eye on mkosler.
We have double keys from early in the skip. Leaves us lots of items to be had later.
Yep, and from here, they're going to be on the lookout for the map. If you don't find an escape, Sanctuary is considered part of escape by the game. So you will end up knowing that the Sanctuary chest is the map and doesn't need opened if you don't find it down here anywhere.
Yeah, easy way to save 2 or 3 seconds.
Those minor saves in Randomizer don't always make a huge difference, but they're still good to go for.
We'll have a ether medallion nice and early. That might be of use to get into the dungeon, potentially even for bird throwing later.
Yep, that gives us a 33% chance of having access to one of the dungeons that require a medallion. Of course, if the game wants to be evil, that ether medallion is totally worthless.
It's not even particularly useful for combat, unfortunately. At least the other 2 have a combat use.
Yeah, there are a couple things ether can do, but not a whole lot. And Zelda's chest just had a piece of heart, so nothing really all that interesting up at the front of Escape, for sure. That ether could be useful, but not much else up here.
It's not particularly unusual to get no progression items in the first few chests, but there's still a lot of chests to go before we get stuck.
Yeah, but it's just always fun to watch occasionally when the randomizer does throw out a bunch of progression right off the bat and just make the runners super confused on which direction to head out of Escape.
It's always fun matches to watch, however. Lots of divergence.
The best item to get back there is the mirror, since you can mirror right back to the entrance of the castle after picking up Zelda and just walk straight up to the sewers.
Yeah, definitely a huge time save. Let's see if we get trolled by the mirror in the first chest when it doesn't matter.
Now that would just be mean.
That would be pretty funny. I'd laugh.
I would,
mirror still,
unless I was wrong.
Mirror is still probably a required item, so it's still very useful.
So we're going through the dark rooms here. You get this light cone in the escape dark rooms because otherwise lamp would be impossible to randomize. Every other dark room in the game will require the lamp to get that light cone.
However, given that these guys are both at 2-0, I suspect they're pretty confident in their dark room navigating abilities.
Yep, it's one of those skills that the game never expects from you, but the more you learn it, the more you can kind of freely move around the game without much concern.
Yeah, it's definitely useful for sequence breaking up Death Mountain or wherever you want to go. Especially useful in Eastern Palace for grabbing the last couple of chests.
And we're about to get into the back of Escape here, see what we would have missed out on without that bomb drop, piece of heart, a map, and silver arrows. Those are nice.
Yeah, no silverless cannon today. That'll definitely be super useful.
Now we just gotta hope that the bow is super light, and then we can, watch people actually fight bosses instead of just hitting them with a silver and being done.
Yeah, it makes for very boring boss fights.
I think the only boss that can actually survive more than one who's vulnerable to them is Vitreous and Ganon.
And even Vitreous is very simple fight with the silvers. It doesn't make it particularly challenging because all the little eyeballs even die in one silver arrow shot. Very laggy fight, but very straightforward.
Yeah, it's always very satisfying to go into that fight with silvers, especially since that's one of the one of the options that is completely impossible in the vanilla game.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that are enabled by the randomizer that would be impossible in vanilla. It's a lot of fun to play.
So mkosler is headed straight over to Lost Woods and Kakariko, just green rupees from the tier 2 tree pool, and 300 or 100 sitting in the mushroom spot.
I'll go towards our bottle vendor fund / Zora fund.
Yep, one of those might be something useful. The other one might be, but it's usually just a life lesson.
Yeah, a few more bombs in the wee bandits hut. Always useful. It's only sitting at 5 bombs at the minute, so those 3 bombs are definitely going to be useful in the chicken hut and maybe down in South Shore.
Yeah, 5 bombs is actually exactly enough to do Kakariko checks and the South Shore checks, assuming you have a weapon to kill the mini Moldorms with.
Luckily we do. We have a sword.
We're heading down. Oop, go ahead.
Just heading into Blind's hut and getting 5 chests in here, and 4 over in the well. Hopefully we'll get some progression in one of those.
So far, so not good. You got the single arrow, though. The only single arrow in the game. That's a useless find, but, it's a thing.
A lot of fun. It's as rare as a progression item.
And looks like we have just completed syncing up the runners, so now they're on about even footing. 10 arrows back of the well. 10 arrows front of the well as well.
We have a glove in the well as well. That'll open up a sequence break to Death Mountain. It's definitely a very useful item otherwise, however.
Yep, the sequence break isn't super useful yet since you only have 1 item location you can actually check within logic. Well, not within logic, you only have 2 item locations you can check total. So, not always the best thing with just the glove, but can pay off sometimes.
Yeah, and it's 100% required item, so definitely add that to our collection of places we need, or items we need to get.
This feat is starting off ridiculously slow in terms of progression, though.
There's still the treasure trove that is the mini Moldorm cave. Hopefully it'll pay out.
Another 10 arrows. I'm just gonna sit here and hope for another sword and a lamp.
Coming up to the library now, it's always fun to see progression there. It lets you know when the bits will be available.
Yeah, if you find something you know you're gonna need early, it's very nice to see.
I don't think 1 rupee is something we'll be coming back for.
I don't know. What if they're at 499 rupees and they really want to check Zora?
Yeah, fair. I think we might be able to find a rupee before then.
I'd have to imagine they could, but if desperation struck. So Dataworld kind of YOLO'd the race game, is going to be sorely disappointed. mkosler checked it, saved a little bit of time by not going through the bombing and everything.
Dataworld's gonna opt to pick up the bombs anyway. He's only got 5, so 3 more is always gonna be useful.
Yep, and by the time you can see the item you're talking about, maybe a 3-second difference to go pick it up, so it's usually worth it if it's something like bombs.
See, Kosler going down to the dam and see what our 2 items here are. Lots of money. That's our Zora fund well covered if we opt to fake flipper over there.
Yep, and Zora himself is in logic with the gloves, so while Fake Flipper is a lot faster way to get there, it is actually a location that the logic expects them to have access to.
That's quite true, and turns out my math is wrong. We aren't quite at the Zora funds yet, but we're pretty close.
There's a Cane of Samaria under the water. Who would throw the poor Cane of Samaria into a lake?
Very unfortunate place for it, but the item's definitely going to be useful later. Speeds up a number of rooms and is required for a couple of dungeons as well.
Yep, and it can be a solid ranged weapon as well until we find a hookshot and a bow.
Yep, might even see use of it in here. Yep, we're gonna just ether them. That works as well, I suppose.
Ether, showing one of the few moments when it can actually pay off for combat. Okay, that's 3 big 20s. Oh, it ruined it. But there are the flippers.
I'm definitely gonna head over to Zora, the looks of things.
Yep, now, if you are decently good at swimming, it is a little bit faster to swim over to Ice Rod Cave than to walk all the way. It looks like mkosler is going to do so.
I'll see him head over to Ice Rod Cave and then probably head to maybe the Hobo and then up to Zora's domain for 4 items up there. I have a feeling we'll see Dataworld do exactly the same.
Yeah, most likely going to be pretty similar here. Ice Rod Cave is one of those locations you hate having to go to, but when you don't go there, there's always progression.
So a bunch of rupees, either 100 or 300, didn't quite catch it on the Lake Hylia Island.
Yep, so they're not going to be worried about ever mirroring over there unless something very strange happens.
Yeah, with the 800 in their pocket at the minute, even Palace Darkness is covered to destroy it.
Yeah, it's enough to cover everything that needs rupees, plus a little bit towards a potion.
Get our second piece of heart from the Hobo living under the bridge.
Such a nice guy to just give away a piece of his heart to someone who just happens to interrupt his sleep.
Now take this and get away. I'm snoozing here.
So Dataworld is swimming right back down to the whirlpool down here, which will put him right outside the Waterfall of Wishing and Zora's domain.
It looks like in that case Dataworld's opted to skip the Ice Rod Cave. Or maybe not.
Oh, yep, he went up to Hobo, now is going over to Ice Rod Cave and then back to the portal, presumably.
Getting trolled by Zora a little.
Yep, the Zora and the little explodey guy whose name of an enemy I don't remotely know, both hitting him away from that ladder.
Sam Kosler making his way over to the Waterfall of Wishing.
$50 and a piece of heart. Continuing to not give them anything.
See what the big man has and see what's on the ledge here.
Okay, that's a nice item finally. There's the flute.
That unlocks a lot of locations. It unlocks access to Death Mountain, but as mentioned earlier, there's actually only 1 or 2 items up there. It doesn't really give us access to a lot else. Easier access to desert. We could go see again.
Yeah, it's super nice to have, but doesn't with that mint it unlocks, well, nothing until we get a moon pearl, but it does unlock the Mire area combined with that mint.
It's definitely a lot of items and Aghanim still on the table, so hopefully that doesn't stay true for long.
Actually, kind of interestingly, we have the Titan's Mitts, the flute, a medallion, and the Cane of Samaria. As soon as we get Moon Pearl, it's possible that Misery Mire is completable.
Yeah, if Mire is Ether, it's definitely, the seed's definitely telling you to go to Mire. And we don't have very many hearts, or a bow, or anything we can really kill Victorious with, so that could get really interesting.
Yeah, and it's a gamble to make going there without a fire rod, but it's definitely a play that the game could expect you to make for something nice and early.
And we see mkosler heading back to Kakariko to activate his flute. We'll see where he goes afterwards. It's 2 choices, again his cave or Death Mountain, basically.
Yep, or yeah, those are pretty much the 2 options. Eastern Palace is the 3rd one. That's what I was looking for.
That's quite true. There's potentially 6 items over there, at least 5. Counting Sahasral is down as well.
Yep, which is probably the highest density location they got, but yep, looks like mkosler is going to head over there, try to get as many items as fast as possible.
Yep, seems like a strong play. Checking these Sphere 0 locations is definitely very important.
Yep, anything you can access without any kind of extra items is usually going to be a high odd of having something, because that's where the game knows they can give you stuff.
Let's see if we get a green pendant check off Sahasral.
Looks like not going to bother. It's usually a little bit less valuable here in Standard than it was back in the Keysanity races we had in the last tournament.
Very true. You see dataworld activating his flute. See where he heads off to. mkosler's decided to just back out of the eastern area. Heading up to Death Mountain for his 2 items up here.
Yep, gonna go ahead and start out sequence breaking the old man out of his cave. It's a dark room, but one of the easier ones to learn. I know there are actually a lot of people who can do this cave backwards just fine, but trying to go forwards throws them off because they're not used to it, since you so often get up here with the flute.
Yeah, it's a odd cave to get through in the dark. The front half of it anyway. You never really come up here without the flute.
And mkosler does get through there just fine. The old man has the boots!
There's a lot of stuff happening right in Sharpish now.
Yep, all that stuff I said about Death Mountain being questionable because only 2 items, all erased by getting the boots.
And see where dataworld heads, if he's going to head off to Eastern, or if he'll head up Death Mountain to get his boots. Looks like he's heading off to Eastern and see what he finds in there.
Yep, and mkosler making some use of the spin speed glitch there, and we're going to see what's in Spectacle Rock. A hammer!
Well, Death Mountain was pretty good.
Death Mountain was pretty good.
It still actually doesn't really give us access to much, however. It feels that we're still going to end up in Eastern. Because the hammer's a nice item, but without the hook shot, we can't really access much of Death Mountain or the mirror. And we still have no moon pearl.
Yeah, with the Moon Pearl, that would give a couple more access points to Dark World, but without it, it kind of seems like maybe Eastern or Regina's Cave have something to get you farther on the mountain.
Dataworld's coming up to the first chest in Eastern. Just a dungeon item.
At least now I can find Armos.
And check our bitlocked locations, starting with King's Tomb.
These are a sequence break for the lamp, but since we already have Flute, assuming they're comfortable with dark rooms, you don't worry too much about sequence breaking the lamp. Also going to head over to the Sanctuary Bonk Rocks and see if they've got anything hidden behind them, as data comes up on the next chest here.
So our first item in Eastern's just a 20 bucks. See what's in the Bonk Rocks. Just a piece of art.
So boots unlock nothing for us. Eastern Palace has up to 3 items.
We quick check at Lumberjack. It's a good time to check it whenever you're out at Bonk Rocks anyway, and we have the boots, so we can check Lumberjack. We can't quite get the Aghanim yet, but we're close.
It's a bee in a bottle, which is likely never going to be important unless the kid has progression, and that's the only bottle they have access to before then.
As will be interesting if that happens.
I have legitimately never seen that happen in a run, but I would love to.
Let's see, mkosler heading off to Agina's. He's reinforcing his gamble to not go into Eastern immediately. See Dataworld heading off to get the big key in its final location through a few dark rooms.
Yeah, but we did have another bottle on the desert ledge, so depending on if they get access over there, that could completely kill Aghanim pretty soon.
There's the hook shot. So that's going to send us back up Death Mountain, sending us circles looking for our Moon Pearl.
Yeah, but Gina's Cave is certainly where the game wanted you to go. Now it's a question of what's on Death Mountain. Some swords, a cape, or maybe, just maybe, a Moon Pearl.
Well, any of the above will give us Dark World access. Doing it again is annoying, but whenever it's like we're in a guaranteed Agina seed, or a Aghanim, seed, it does mean that that both runners have to do it anyway.
Yeah, it feels a lot worse when you get to a point where you've exhausted all your locations and you can just say, okay, I'm going to Aghanim, there's no other choice, my opponent's going to do this. We are going through a little bit of a stream refresh here to try to take care of the drifting apart, and we see Dataworld headed into Hookshot Cave, or into Agina's Cave to get the hookshot. Sometimes talking is hard.
I did exactly the same thing a moment ago, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Whoever thought calling one guy Aghanim and another guy Agina in the same game was a good idea? That guy's wrong.
They were. And also with that bottle, if we get a Moon Pearl, the Aghanim dream is completely dead. Dataworld will be heading up to Death Mountain here. mkosler is taking the long walk around that you take when you miss the bomb jump to go up to the top, probably head over to Hera.
Yep, there's 1 or 2 items in there. We're potentially locked out of Hera because of our lack of fire source, but odds of that aren't particularly high. Everyone loves to not do the basement anyway.
Yeah, the basement tower room is not something you ever want to do, unless you know for sure it's required in progression, because it's just so boring to stand there and wait.
Sometimes you forget to go to the loo before a race, and then you go and do tile room.
All because of that nice little glitch that lets you act like you're in iframes consistently. Oh, we missed the mirror while the stream was refreshing there. So they both have the mirror now.
It's an extremely useful item. It helps with writing and it helps with traversing the Dark World. Also gives us a few item locations once we get Dark World access. And we're locked out of Torrefera.
Yep, so now we head back and do Spiral Cave, which is the last in-logic location on Death Mountain. They could viably flip over to the Dark World and do Super Bunny Cave, but that would be a sequence break if they don't get the Pearl here.
I think both of them might opt to do that anyway. It's not a particularly execution-heavy glitch. It doesn't involve doing anything out of the ordinary, in fact.
Yeah, it is a glitch that is pretty much the only thing easier than the Palace of Darkness pot glitch. With just a heart container in Spiral Cave, we'll see if that's exactly what mkosler is going to do. Nope, gonna flute away.
The mirror gives us access to Desert Palace, which gives us that bottle and then whatever's in Desert Palace.
It also gives access to my favorite Moon Pearl location, Checkerboard Cave.
It's always a lot of fun.
You can also sequence break into the mini mire shed here with a Super Bunny glitch. It's a little bit harder to pull off.
You see Quake from the Cicad. Very useful. You see our map tech giving us pendants in Swamp and Palace of Darkness, with our green pendant in Ice Palace. And our second red crystal is in Skullwoods.
Yep, that's a pretty solid layout. Especially having the hookshot early and pretty much full swamp access, it is worrisome that maybe it's going to make you go there anyway.
And the Palace of Darkness being a pendant is a little annoying as well, because typically you'll end up in there getting the huge plethora of chests. Oh, and you called it. Congratulations.
Yay for Checkerboard Cave Moon Pearl. And it looks like Data was trying to set up for that Super Bunny into the mini mire shed, where you take damage to that pterodactyl to knock you into the shed. But it got caught up in some weird bunny stuff with water and ended up missing out on it.
Let's see, Mara requires Bombos, so we don't have Mara access yet.
It's got to kind of be a relief to both runners. We also just got the Fire Rod on Desert Torch, which means that both of our 5-6 crystals are now clearable.
That's very early access to the Pyramid Ferry. That could be an interesting place for progression.
Yep, it could certainly impact routing. I don't know if these guys tend to start at Hype Cave or up by Village of Outcasts, but being able to route the Pyramid Ferry into the end of your Dark World loop is a nice little benefit.
The Fire Rod also lets us complete Desert Palace, which is handy since we're here.
Yep, and conveniently that Fire Rod was technically locked by the lamp. So we don't have to worry about the fire sources anymore because it was lamp blocking Fire Rod.
Quite true, with the old man holding the boots, we aren't quite back in logic yet.
Yep, and if I had to guess, that means that these guys will completely stop paying attention to lamp logic. You really don't want to until you get a fire source, but once you have one, don't really worry about it.
Yeah, both these guys are probably pretty confident in their ability to navigate dark rooms. Especially now Aghanim's off the table. That's pretty much the hardest dark room in the game.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where there's like one very specific fringe case where it's a huge payoff, and a lot of cases where it's a time waste more than anything.
Yeah, the logic requiring lamp to do Aghanim typically means that runners will leave it as long as possible before doing Aghanim, so they'll never get to do that dark room anyway.
Dataworld going with Fire Rod strats on Lamolus makes this boss pretty simple. Unfortunately misses that last hit there.
So solid 3 cycles, not too bad at all. Gets our first crystal at 29 minutes. 29.50 odd, basically 30 minutes.
Yep, coupled with a very unfortunate green rupee.
Hey, crystal's a crystal.
Very true. Now we'll see, he should most likely be heading over to Checkerboard Cave now to get his pearl, and into Minimire Shed to get his nothing.
There's a lot of interesting places we could go next. We have access to a lot of stuff. We have access to the majority of Turtle Rock, not that I can see that happening. We have access to all of Skullwoods, all of Thieves Town. Lots and lots of Overworld. Let's see where these runners go next.
Also got that full Ice Palace access to full clear that. In fact, we are a bow away from being able to clear all 3 pendant dungeons.
Ice Rod and Pedestal hype.
So we're going to see where mkosler heads. Back up Death Mountain. Looks like probably going to do finishing Hera and then checking the Dark World locations on East Death Mountain.
Yeah, seems like a reasonable play. I was going to check the Dark World locations first instead of taking advantage of his mirror.
Yep, I'm not actually sure which of these comes out ahead in terms of speed, or whether it's going straight across. Oh, gonna go up onto T-Rock and see if they can open it, maybe, to get into the Dark World.
That's interesting. I think ending at the top might be a better plan in case one of these chests has some sort of invincibility item, or if he just wants to go do Spike Cave. We have access to it, and we have a ferry, so we might be able to survive it.
Yeah, I believe with the amount of health they have, they would 100% survive it. It wouldn't be in logic, but they could just do it while they're here instead of ever having to come back.
Those dead rocks are not playing nice today.
Dead rocks are the worst thing about this game.
That's why Quake is the best medallion. See what Turtle Rock requires. And see Dataworld heading into Skullwoods, which is a completable crystal dungeon. It's one of our 5-6 crystals.
Interesting, mkosler is missing that Quake medallion that's required to open T-Rock, but Dataworld has it.
I can't remember where it was.
Neither can I, actually. I'm guessing it might have been the big chest in Eastern while the stream was down briefly. There's a Master Sword.
That's definitely useful, increases our firepower a bit, and is required to beat Ganon. And Quake was Sick Kid, our tracker's letting us know.
Aha, Sick Kid. That was what I missed. So that could be interesting when Data goes up Death Mountain. He could dive straight into T-Rock there.
I'm not sure how great an idea that is, doing it A, without the Ice Rod, and B, this early. You might just die a lot.
That's true, although sometimes when the logic gives you full access to a very highly locked dungeon like T-Rock, it's sometimes a good play to just dive right in there, because that usually means that it's important early.
Yeah, definitely can't disagree with that logic. See, mkosler heading into Tower of Hera. He's going to get his coffee break.
We're kind of seeing simultaneous Pyramid Fairy dungeons right now. So for anyone in chat who is not aware, if you're standing on one of these pegs when they go up, the game thinks you're getting hit and puts you in iframes. You can just kind of stand here and let the tiles smack you in the face, and they do 0 damage.
Always handy in this room. Beats the tedium of having to dodge tiles. You just get to like put the controller down for a minute or so, just stretch your fingers.
Oh man, that small magic drop on that mini Helmasaur just helped Dataworld speed that up so much.
Let's see if how Fighter Sword Mothula goes. Green Potion's definitely going to come in useful. Some more fire rod shots in.
Yep, between the Green Potion, I'm guessing probably a switch to Hammer afterwards to get the last hit or two, since it'll do Tempered Sword damage, which only takes 4 hits.
There we go, flawless fight.
Yep, that was a wonderful moth fight. Unfortunately, just rewarded with a piece of heart.
Hey, crystal's a crystal. I'm going to be saying that a lot.
Seems that way. This is kind of a disadvantage to Dataworld's routing, since Skullwoods didn't have anything, in that he won't be able to route Pyramid Fairy right in, unless he flutes up the Death Mountain and does it now.
It seems like that might be his plan. He's going to abandon Dark World for the time being, or not.
Nope, looks like just trying to get back down to the Village of Outcasts quicker. I was thinking maybe he was making the play doing Skull Woods, going up to Hera, and then entering Dark World down by Hype Cave and going straight for Pyramid Fairy.
I think we're going to see a more thorough Dark World sweep. Heading up to the Graveyard Ledge, one of the more out of the way annoying locations that typically has something half decent.
And chat did point out that we missed that Hera had the magic powder, which is not required unless Magic Bat's got something, but one of the best safeties.
Yeah, turn those anti-furries into proper furries. See Dataworld checking his lumberjack cave just to be on the safe side, and sees the bottle with a bee in it. See nothing on the bumper cave.
Nothing there, and unlike when Kosler saw that bottle, Dataworld already knows that Aghanim is now fully off the table.
Make a quick trip over the Graveyard Ledge. We might even go right across the catfish. That would be interesting.
Yep, and this is a little bit of a benefit here for Dataworld, looping in these Bonk Rocks King's Tomb checks with all this North Dark World stuff, instead of having to do 2 separate passes if there's something important here. You know, a disadvantage is it's never fun to mirror back and forth between world over and over again to do this.
It's probably still faster than walking along this path twice. See,
absolutely, it just feels so slow.
And see Kosler heading straight into Skullwoods. He's looks to be putting a bit more of a priority on the Pyramid Fairy.
Yep, trying to take a cue from the seed on that one, that these are both full clearable, might as well knock them out and route this in as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, he'll be able to do one full lap anti-clockwise around Dark World and end up with the Pyramid Fairy. That's a lot of items. It's a whole lot of items.
It certainly is. It'll be interesting to see where Dataworld goes after Graveyard Ledge here. You might continue over to Catfish, might head back to Village of Outcasts. Going to leave poor Catfish all on his own in the northeast, with nobody to visit him.
It seems to be a regular occurrence with Catfish. Poor guy, never gets any love. Always gives pieces of love power.
I feel like if he just offered something more valuable, he would get a lot more love.
And $5 in the Sea House. See what else Village of Outcasts has to offer.
So Kosler with that Master Sword has a little bit easier moth fight lined up, but has been avoiding using up his green potion, which has made this take significantly longer than Dataworld's did.
He's doing a good job at dodging spikes and lasers or whatever those are. And there's Mothula dead.
Yep, just unfortunate for him, Mothula was really not cooperating, hanging out on those spikes that make him take no damage.
Dataworld heading straight into Steve's time after picking up a 10 bomb capacity upgrade in the chest gate.
Yeah, Village of Outcasts so far has been pretty much a bust. Thieves Town is another crystal we can full clear though, so they're going to be knocking that out.
With that small key, that gives us access to the big chest. It's not locked behind itself. But luckily with that hammer, we can actually get it.
Yep, you always love to have hammer early on, just to make sure that you can take care of all that stuff. Dipping into Thieves Town without the hammer is always a terrifying proposition to take out.
Yeah, we see mkosler heading back into Skullwoods to grab the last few chests.
Yep, I believe the reverse routing here has actually kind of bit him into checking a lot more locations than he actually needed to. Dataworld was able to skip this vanilla big key chest and the bridge chest. Since, to sum up for anyone in chat who might not be familiar, the setup of dungeons in Randomizer, in this mode at least, is they're going to have their map, their compass, all their small keys, and then the remaining chests are going to be unique items that might be valuable. So each dungeon has a set amount of unique items that the runners are going to be looking for. After that, they don't care about chests that aren't needed to complete the dungeon.
Yeah, and Skullwoods unfortunately only has 2 unique items, so Dataworld found them pretty sharpish on his way through, but mkosler did not and has to clear a few extra chests here.
Yeah, a couple of versions ago, Skullwoods was known as Value Woods, because it seemed like every run there was something important there. That is not really the case with V29 that we're playing on now.
Yeah, it's nice that they keep switching it up and keep tweaking the logic to make it more random. Whenever the randomizer consistently gives you something, you know it's not random enough.
If although nothing's been as crazy as the one bug in Key Sandy in the early versions, where the Swamp Palace small key had like a 90% or like a 10% chance to be in the front chest of Swamp.
That would be overly annoying. Have to open Swamp Palace just to see if you might find the key there. It takes like a year to open Swamp Palace.
Yeah, if it was just high enough of a percentage that you couldn't bet against it consistently, but just low enough where it didn't pay off very often.
Dataworld picking up.
Oops, go ahead.
Go on. And Dataworld picking up the maiden in the cell, gonna grab the big chest here and then head up and fight Blind. Looks like Blind's holding the last item.
Yep, and he's very low health, which is a concern if he gets off script with Blind, but if he can stay on script, it's gonna be just fine.
I think Dataworld might have skipped the ferry on the desert ledge, so that might add a bit more danger to the fight.
Yeah, not having that free heal definitely makes it riskier, but Blind, if you do it right, is 100% a scripted fight. You don't have to worry about any RNG, because everything will be the same every time.
It's very useful that the fight does that, but if it goes off script, it can go very wrong very fast.
He's made it through kind of the most important part of the script. Oh, actually did perfect script all 3 phases. Very nice.
Flawless fight. And it turns out I was wrong and failed to count. You have a compass off Blind. But crystal's always useful.
So far, dungeons have not really paid out with anything. mkosler just barely missing the God Pixel here in the Hellway.
And still 3 crystals down. Will be a 4th crystal down for mkosler shortly. That's a lot of crystals for 44 minutes in. And nowhere near go mode.
Yeah, it's interesting they've been able to clear this many dungeons, and we still need at least a bow, an ice rod, Bombos medallion for go mode.
Sort of need the lamp. Sort
yeah,
of.
technically need the lamp.
Dataworld heading off to the digging game. I'll probably head up and take the bullfrog for a wander.
If somewhere within the first 30 digs here, he's going to get an item. And it was garbage.
Not surprising.
Capacity upgrades are one of those things where you really feel it if you don't find any at random, but you never want to go out of your way to pick up.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum.
So we are going to get our blacksmith and purple chest route along with the hammer pegs, which will potentially have 3 items to look at.
And on our way down to the purple chest, we'll have another 4-ish items, counting the 2 mirror spots and Stumpy. And then there's Hype Cave is in the area as well.
We get the other cane, which puts Spike Cave in logic for him.
And very handy safety for a lot of other fights as well. It's currently just sitting on Master Sword, so there's a lot of places where having invincibility would be pretty handy.
Yeah, the only downside to it is that the cane is so very laggy. Those sparkles are not liked very much by the game engine.
Yeah, and they're so laggy you can't even charge your sword. So yeah, a red meringue, speaking of laggy items, off the blacksmiths.
Normally, boomerangs aren't that great, but it is kind of nice to have one. They do stun a few things that hookshot cannot, which makes them somewhat valuable.
A few fringe uses for hitting switches in Gangnam Star as well. The red meringue's a little more awkward, but boomerang's boomerang. mkosler picking up his 4th crystal. Clearing out the rest of Village of Outcasts. He'll probably be right behind Dataworld.
There's the other boomerang.
The boomerang, the strictly superior boomerang.
Pretty much. The red meringue offers nothing but lag. Bloomerang is highly useful without lag.
There's a fetch quest in the cave south of the grove.
Interesting little quirk here. Because Dataworld has that mushroom before the powder, he might try to fake powder before turning that in, whereas mkosler would turn it in immediately since he already has the powder.
Yeah, it's interesting to see which way the runners go like that. It's a bit, it'll be a bit unusual for him to fake powder at this stage. There's a lot of items open, and he'll probably find the powder at some stage. With given his current routing, I could see him heading up the Harrow sooner rather than later.
We find another bottle, our 4th bottle here in Hype Cave, along with a shovel.
All the fetch quests. And there's our lantern.
Hey, we're back in logic.
So we were supposed to go over to get the mirror up Death Mountain, and then head over to Checkerboard Cave, and then go to Hype Cave, and then go to Desert Palace. Thanks, Seed.
And between Hype Cave and Desert Palace, going up to Death Mountain again to go get your boots from Old Man.
Quite true. That sequence breaking at its best.
Unfortunately, just a red rupee from that purple chest.
Dataworld heading up to get his second 5/6 crystal.
Yep, he's gonna be right behind going toward Hype Cave. I think it'll be a little bit later than mkosler heading up that way. Also gonna nab his Master Sword here and might make the play on Turtle Rock, depending on how things go.
Yeah, we see mkosler checking the magic bat. It's an item or location we haven't seen yet.
The magic bat will curse you with the power of ... arrow capacity.
Useful.
Just always imagine all those extra capacity upgrades, extra bomb bags and quivers that Link is carrying around. So when the bat curses you with it, you know, he's just making you carry another bag around.
I always like the dialogue the magic bat gives you. It's like, curse you by having even more magic.
Yeah, the magic bat is not the brightest character in this game.
Need a world opening Turtle Rock at the very least. Be rude not to whenever you're up here. Have the bacon coin in tow.
Yep, usually it makes it nothing but more convenient to open it right away. It'll just be interesting if he's going to choose to dip in there or not while he's up here.
Well, he checked a lot of locations in and around. His choices are pretty much limited to dungeons at this stage. Granted, Turtle Rock is one of the few you can't actually clear, so may see a dip in there, but I doubt it.
Getting his Master Sword and probably thinking, I wish I had this for Mothula.
mkosler picking up his fetch quest. 1 of 2.
Trying to think where Pod could be a decent play, but I think T-Rock is probably where the progression is based on what we've seen from both of these guys.
There's lots of pendant dungeons open. We can clear Swamp House for 7 items, which is maybe worth it.
True. Kind of like, kind of back to what I was saying earlier, when I see this many items unlocking T-Rock already acquired, it makes me feel like there's something there that you need to go get.
That's a fair point. Like, entering T-Rock without the Ice Palace, or Ice Rod, isn't something I'm a big fan of, but sometimes you don't have a choice. And he is up Death Mountain already, so the lack of travel time to Turtle Rock might swing it in his favor.
Yep, it is definitely a play that I can see being a reasonable one. It's just potentially a big time loss if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, all it takes is one good gamble, win or lose, to decide the race, unfortunately.
So now, interesting little difference between these two. Dataworld chose to dash with the chest to leave it behind over by the walkway here, whereas mkosler walked over to Hype Cave and back. So a little bit of a time saved by Dataworld by making that choice to leave the chest off screen and come back for it.
You see Dataworld setting up for a death warp down in Hera Basement. Maybe faster than Mirroring Out.
He just came in here with 1 heart, I think was more so just trying to survive as well as he could.
Dead rocks weren't being friendly as usual.
And taking the death for the free health refill. Hey, there's a tempered sword for that mushroom.
It's a pretty handy item. So I'm not sure how sturdy a sword made of mushroom will really be, but we'll see.
I don't know, if Terraria has taught me anything, it's that mushroom is a surprisingly powerful weapon crafting tool.
Quite true.
So he's gonna go over and check the shovel as well.
That's quest galore.
And this will complete all of the fetch quests.
It's $20. You see where he flits off to now?
And that's the kind of thing I could see a little kid, you know, burying as a secret treasure. This $20 will buy me everything one day.
Looks like mkosler's going to head off to the Pyramid Ferry.
Yep, and this could give a good idea of where the seed wants them to go. Unfortunately, Dataworld taking a fall to our good friend Moldorm.
Or Trolldorm, as he's typically called. He's a bit of a pain in the arse.
Yep, you can definitely find yourself getting knocked off pretty easily if you don't do things perfectly with him.
And sometimes it doesn't matter what you're doing, he just wants to knock you off the side. That'll work.
So it worked out kind of well for him, with him having not gotten the big chest, so he just dropped down, took care of that, and then came back. Trolldorm was just trying to be a good friend and help point to the item that was missed.
Yeah, second time's a charm with Moldorm. Nothing on the pyramid ledge. See what the pyramid fairy is holding. Nothing.
Garbage and more garbage.
I'm going to see our catfish check, or are we heading off the pod?
Knowing that Pyramid Fairy had nothing, I'm kind of hoping to see the T-Rock play, but looks like we're getting a Spike Cave play instead.
Looks like mkosler's heading off to Pass Darts. Spend some of that hard-earned money breaking in.
Yeah, but this is the first real, noteworthy divergence between the two. Because the only difference before was Hera before or after Dark World checks.
And this could be an interesting way to change the lead. We find the bow in Spike Cave. That's a pretty severe find right there.
Yeah, that's definitely an advantage to go grab that before heading over to Pod, especially.
I think we all know where Dataworld's going. The divergence didn't last very long.
No, it did not. And if mkosler knows recent glitch discoveries, he might be choosing to do the potion glitch to check the Bollock side anyway. So main difference is if Helmasaur has an item, Dataworld can get it. Otherwise, they both have access to the same stuff here, really.
Yeah, hopefully mkosler's aware of that little glitch.
It's definitely one of the easier glitches, but it was only found, I think, maybe at most 2 months ago. So it's not the most well-known one.
It's definitely very interesting that there's been a number of odd glitches like that have came about because of Randomizer. Like that, this glitch would be completely useless in a standard run of the game.
Yep, the other applications of it that exist, which are major glitches, they could have uses that someone could find, but the pod one is just never going to be any value outside of Rando.
Well, Rando's the only node that matters anyway. That'll be fine. Yeah, very early big key in Palace Darkness. The Dataworld heading into Eastern as opposed to Pod. With that bow in tow, you'll be able to kill the Armoth Knights. It's another crystal for his collection.
Yep, and with those silver arrows, this is going to be the most simple boss fight you will ever see.
Yeah, mkosler is setting up for the potion glitch. See if he executes. He does.
So to kind of explain this to anyone who might not be aware, essentially using the potion there causes the camera to be unlocked when you enter that next room, and the game doesn't check that all the enemies in that room are dead to open the door. It checks that there are no enemies on screen. So walking to the right, you can scroll the screen over, and then you can walk the mimics off the screen to the left, and that makes the game go, oh, no one's here, let's open.
Yeah, it's a very interesting glitch, and it will mean that mkosler's not going to be feeling that lack of bow in Path of Darkness quite as hard. Actually, at all, I suppose.
Yeah, the only big thing will be if Helmasaur has an item. Otherwise, it's just a time loss of heading back to Eastern later.
Dataworld cleaning up the Armos Knights for his 5th crystal and a heart container.
That was actually the Sanctuary Heart, the only heart container that fills your health.
Would have been handy if it didn't drop from a boss. There's our Butter Sword in the Palace of Darkness Dark Rooms.
Yep, it looks like Dataworld is going to go ahead and make the play into Pod. We only need Bombos and Ice Rod at this point for Go mode. So far we've seen neither of those from Kosler in here.
I'm sure Dataworld will be very pleased to get his 3rd sword in the basement. Like, the upgrade to Butter Sword's nice and all, but the upgrade to Tempered Sword from Master is pretty severe.
Oh yeah, Butter with perfect execution saves a little bit of time on a couple of bosses, no time on Ganon. But Master to Tempered saves time on everything.
Is the mkosler doing the standard way through the Dark Maze? He's probably going to end up mirroring out. I think he's pretty much done here.
Yep, unfortunately I have not been counting items, so I'm not sure if Helmasaur has an item or not. We'll see when he mirrors here if he has compass and map. He does.
That means that the Helmasaur almost certainly has an item. I don't think he can actually hold a small key.
Yeah, everything's got to be up front key-wise. Interesting that Bo also opens up the option of Pedestal.
Yeah, it definitely does. No reason why Ice Rod can't be over there. See, mkosler heading into Eastern. He didn't actually dip into Eastern first time around. So this will be his first of 2 trips into Eastern. Still lack of Bow from Spike Cave.
Yep, unfortunately for him, he came in here before getting the bow, so he didn't get that time save from not going in there earlier. Now the question will be, will Dataworld go kill Helmasaur for the item that he's got?
It's a pretty reasonable choice from a routing perspective. With that 2nd key there, which I'm pretty sure is almost guaranteed, heading to Helmasaur probably saves time in the long run. Opting to check the front side of Palace of Darkness first, however.
Yeah, but I definitely think checking the front side is the better choice in terms of trying to find your items. But then you get to that point of, well, I've got 1 item left, I have to walk all the way to the boss, it's not required necessarily, and that becomes a very hard decision.
Yeah, quite true. Like, if you've gone to the trouble of going into the Appendant Dungeon and clearing most of it, I think killing the last guy is probably a good idea. Plus, at this stage of the seed, it's still completely reasonable for it to be a pedestal required seed. Not a particularly high chance, but you have to assume the game's going to troll you somehow.
Yep, and with both the items they actually need to complete this game, items that can be on pedestal, there's definitely odds of it being there. So there was just a race yesterday where Bombos was a required blind pull from the pedestal to access Misery Mire. I'm kind of having flashbacks to that.
Lovely. This will be my first pedestal seed, actually, of the tournament, if this is one.
Yeah, my money's on T-Rock for progression, but there's some interest that could be there with required blind pulling, which is always one of the most evil things the game could do to you.
Just Bombos and Laser Bridge, and then Ice Rod and Vitreous is trolly enough, I think.
That is pretty bad, and Kosler is going to make the Ice Palace play here.
It's a reasonable play. It's a few items in here, and it's another clearable crystal dungeon. Oh, it's a pendant dungeon, actually. It's 4 items, however.
Yep, that green pendant is a nice little bonus, but it's still a very slow dungeon to clear.
We're all picking up his Butter Sword.
grabbing a potion, which is almost always worth the money when you stop and turn in that mushroom.
Yeah, definitely so. Costs a few seconds and it could save your life later. Or save having the soft reset Ganon or something.
Is this a swamp play?
Most players opting to gamble pendant dungeons. Well, dataworld hasn't did the pyramid for it yet, so that could be his plan. Or not.
We're getting simultaneous dips of 2 pendant dungeons that are the 2 most avoided dungeons in the game.
Seem desperate to not go into Turtle Rock.
Yep, kudos to these guys for the confidence to make these dips. I probably would have bought the T-Rock bait a while ago in my if I were in this race.
Yeah, I think at this stage I probably would have as well. I think I would have dipped Pulse of Darkness, but especially if I grabbed that bow, but I almost certainly would have went to Turtle Rock for either of these messes of a dungeon.
Yep, the advantage is if you have to go back to Turtle Rock, you get to save a bunch of time going through the second time. So if you don't have to go through these dungeons, they're both major time sinks. On that note though, there are 10 combined locations between these 2 dungeons that have items, so there is a decent chance we see something here.
Yeah, there's a lot of locations. mkosler's still missing his bow, however, so he might even end up finding Bombos or Ice Rod up here, and then are in Ice Palace, and then being led further away from his bow.
Yep, although Ice Rod might push him up in the right direction though, because Spike Cave after T-Rock is a pretty reasonable play to make.
Very true.
First item out of Ice is just 20 bucks, and he's going to do this bomb jump here to route things a little bit easier.
See, dataworld watching his first of many cutscenes in Swamp Pass, floating the first room.
Now the press Y repeatedly until it works room. That went by pretty quick for mkosler there.
Yeah, I think I had a few instances in that room where there's just no wee jellyfish things left whenever I finally get to Exotic.
If there are times when it's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do the bomb jump. I'm not waiting for this anymore. Dataworld taking advantage of a little quirk where if you do a hook dash into that pot and then push that statue up, you can grab that other pot in the first attempt every time.
It saves a few seconds having to clear the pot out of the way before you push the statue onto it.
Well, you can do it the same way with without doing the hook dash, but you have to kind of sit there and spam A until it works by chance.
It is a little inconsistent, unfortunately, but the hook dash definitely does help.
So far, nothing of value in either of these pendant gambles. I mean, okay, I guess 20 bucks is technically, by definition, value. That's what money is, but, you know.
Dataworld is heading off to kill Argus. He has the big key in his pocket as well, so you may head back in for the big chest.
Yeah, especially with knowing there's at least one item over on the left side and one in the big chest. Almost certainly going to dive back in after this.
Butter Sword making short work of Argus.
Butter Sword Argus is so nice. And then the silver arrows cap it off. It's all good. Oh, but unfortunately got the poke.
Now that these pendant dungeons paying off. Still a few items left in Swamp, and Ice Palace still has a few items left as well, I suppose. Nowhere near done yet.
I believe there's an item and the green pendant on Cold Stare. So yeah, 2 items in Swamp, and I think 2 in Ice, and I believe 2 in Swamp as well.
Yeah, I think we find the compass in the very, very first chest, in the chest in that little hole in Swamp.
mkosler about to do one of the things we all enjoy. Butter Sword, Cold Stare. The only time that fight is just 100% free.
It's always the potential for it to go wrong, but today, hopefully it won't.
Here we go. Go ahead.
He's shaving a bit of time off that small puzzle with the Kinosamaria.
Yep, dataworld shaving 0 time off the most annoying quote-unquote puzzle.
It's a very tedious section to do. Why skipping left side is something that is done fairly often. There's Cold Stare, still in the corner, all dead. Extremely efficient fight with the butter sword.
Yeah, very nice fight. Unfortunately rewarded with just a big 20, so Ice Palace came up 100% empty. And Swamp is on its last leg here.
Well, 75% empty. We still haven't checked that green pendant yet. Probably head off to check it relatively soon.
True, Sahasrara could be a jerk and hold on to something important.
Always feels very trolly whenever that happens.
It does. It's one of those locations that's required so rarely that when it comes up, you just sit there. Really? Kozler calling the duck and then dodging.
And $20 from Sahasrara and a couple of rage swipes at him. I think he deserved it.
So we can pretty safely guess that Turtle Rock does in fact have progression. There are a few overworld checks here and there that aren't done, but that's a pretty high odd at this point, and that seems to be where Kozler is headed.
And looks like dataworld's going to check his pyramid ferry. Maybe we'll see a catfish check. That is one of the few overworld locations we haven't checked yet.
Ice Rod and catfish would be just mean.
There have been a few opportunities where they were almost in the area. I'm surprised nobody's checked already. It is a bit of a dander, however.
It's one of those locations that it's just never convenient or out. There's never a good time, unless you haven't done Zora and Waterfall, to be like, I'm going to do catfish now.
Yeah, and mkosler's going to head straight into Turtle Rock here.
Dataworld kind of pausing for the explosion of that bomb there. As a side note, you don't actually need to be on screen when that explosion happens. It'll blow up the wall regardless.
Gets 3 big chunks of nothing from the pyramid area. Given that he hasn't mirrored or save and quitted, might be doing catfish.
Yep, it certainly looks like it. And here we go, into Turtle Rock.
Interesting to see what Turtle Rock has to lead us away from the bow. We still need it from Spike Cave for mkosler.
Yeah, if he does get Bombos in here, I could see that leading him away from his bow. He might just make that bet on Meyer and leave Spike Cave behind.
Getting a bit ahead of himself there.
Catfish with garbage.
So I think that's 100% Turtle Rock now. Dataworld's opting to check Ice Palace first, which actually almost gives him pedestal access. He left Helmasaur alive.
I'm gonna have a little bit of comic amusement when Helmasaur is actually the thing with the progression.
That'd be pretty funny. It's like Helmasaur has Bombos, and then the top, like, Ice Rod's still on pedestal.
I was just gonna go with the Bombos on Helmasaur. You're a slightly more evil person than I am.
Yeah, they'll find Bombos in Helmasaur, then go to Mire and not pull the pedestal.
So T-Rock is kind of like Pod. You're gonna most likely get a decent chunk of key stuff early that's not gonna give you what you want. And then further in the dungeon, you'll start hitting more of the 6 items that you can get here.
Yeah, both dungeons have a small section that's very, very chest dense. The Laser Bridge in Turtle Rock and the Dark Maze area in Palace Darkness.
And technically, Turtle Rock only has 5 items, but since they have Mirror, they can go to Mimic Cave, which is only accessible through T-Rock.
Yeah, it's kind of an item in Turtle Rock. Adds a bit of value.
Good old vanilla big key. Never where you want to see it. If you're not in go mode, it doesn't make any difference it being there. It's just, it's a lot easier to forget to go grab it if it's there than if it's in one of the earlier chests.
Yeah, definitely so.
Okay, now there's a potentially evil thought. What if we had to blindfold the book from the pedestal, like happened in the fall tournament?
That'd be a lot of fun. We can get stuff on tablets.
Vanilla Bombos and the Ice Rod on Ether and the book on pedestal.
That'll be a lot of fun.
So we are here in Mimic Cave. Small little optimization, we'll see if Kosler does it. If you do a hammer dash out of this door, you will get to your portal. Hey, there's the book. But yeah, if you do a hammer dash out of that door, you actually just keep moving forward into your portal without having to press any inputs. So that is a little bit of a very minor, like, frame-saving technique.
There's a lot of minor optimizations in this game. It's very popular to run it in a more vanilla way as well, so there's lots of little time saves like that are very important there. mkosler, being a NMG runner, is probably aware of all of the tricks.
Well, there's one of our items.
Yeah. Ice Rod in Turtle Rock, you called it.
It's not quite a few versions ago when Ice Rod was in T-Rock, like every single seed, but it still shows up there pretty often.
And given that he picked up the book as well, we could see a trip over to Ether Tablet and hopefully by extension Spike Cave as well. That'll give mkosler a hefty lead.
Yeah, right now he's kind of in the lead progression-wise, but depending if he goes to Spike Cave or not could make a huge difference in the outcome.
In Dataworld, dipping his third pendant dungeon isn't super optimal.
This little red hard hat beetle is really getting in Kosler's way here. He decides to just leave and come back.
And there's our bombos.
Yep, so we are now in no mode. Depending on if he makes that play into Spike Cave or not, he could be in go mode here very soon.
Yes, a Turtle Rock was loaded. Blue mail as well, it's always useful.
Never complain about armor. But yeah, Yeah, that early T-Rock access was in fact the sign this seed.
Yeah, you called it. Would have been a fantastic early play. That means that we could have go-moded all sorts of extra dungeons. Could have
Oh
not
dear, that
dipped
gave me a heart
into
attack.
So
That anti-fairy was out for blood.
always the time that you opt to not take the safety room that just all of the enemies decide that should just kill you.
Yep, of course then he menus and I see that he still has that fairy from earlier and realize that there was no reason to be worried to begin with.
He remembers to menu before killing the first head. Something I always manage to forget about. I have to sit and watch the ice head shoot ice.
And that is the worst feeling. Buttersword Trinex is a very, very quick fight though, and very fun to watch.
And that world gets cold start down pretty sharpish.
So the moment of truth for Kozler here. Does he do Spike Cave or does he head straight to Meyer?
I could see him checking Ether Tablet, which, given the books, that'll probably, hopefully, lead him to Spike Cave.
Yeah, it's definitely seems to be what he's doing, which is good for him. But I could see the argument for, I feel behind, I already did Pendant Ice Palace for nothing, cleared Pendant Pod for nothing, I need to do something big to make up for it, let's just go straight to Meyer. And Data is 100% betting on Pedestal right now.
Yeah, he's cleared 3 pendant dungeons already, essentially. He must be feeling a lot more behind than mkosler.
And he's going back to Dark World, so he is making the Spike Cave play and will be in go mode here very soon. And so I'm going to go ahead and bet on a shield upgrade on the pedestal.
That's a good call. I'm going to play it nice and safe and go for a little piece of love.
And there we go. At 1 minute, 22 seconds, 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 36 seconds, mkosler has entered go mode.
1 minute, 22 second go mode, that's pretty fast.
That would be fantastic. I would love to watch that happen.
Watch a seed on times 60 speed.
Just walk up to Uncle and he gives you all the things at once.
See, mkosler heading straight off to Mara. This is actually his last dungeon. Well, no, he hasn't did Eastern yet, so we'll have to do that as well. Finish it up. I doubt we'll be seeing any additional chests picked up, given that we're sitting with Silver Arrows, Buttersword, and Blue Meal.
Yeah, but as soon as he finds that big key, it'll be straight to the boss for sure. Now, Meyer has a couple little quirks that you can keep an eye out for in terms of trying to hunt down the big key. The main one being if there's a small key in the left side room above the torches, the big key is vanilla 100%.
There's lots of little interesting tidbits you can find out. Most of that kind of stuff is to avoid you being able to soft lock yourself. Well, I suppose it is a soft lock, yeah. Key lock yourself.
Yeah, logic assumes worst possible key usage, and if big key is on the right side and the small key on the left, you have access to all small key doors, but could use them in a way that you lock that key in the vanilla big key location. There's an often forgotten rupee room in the bottom right of the dark room in Meyer that takes a small key. And if you don't open that, you can't key lock regardless of layout. But just in case someone does, the logic counts for it.
Yeah, the logic always accounting for the worst case scenario. So that's the same reason why the small key cannot be on blind. You have to go really out of your way to key lock yourself in Thieves' Town here. See dataworld finishing up his last pendant dungeon, about to get a pedestal pool.
Yep, he's about to get a big dose of disappointment here. And there's a big key in a very convenient location, actually.
Nip straight over to Vitreous.
Gonna go ahead and do the magic bad check before heading to pedestal. Just delaying the inevitable.
Layering on some more disappointment.
The moment that ped pull happens, and he realizes that it's pretty much gotta be T-Rock, he is not going to be feeling good about his chances. He's still got a very, very good time for having full cleared the game so far, but he'll not feel great about his chances, blind pulling nothing from ped.
Yeah, it's always a horrible feeling. The funny thing is his opponent essentially did 2 pendant dungeons as well, given that he went into Palace Darkness and killed everything except Helmasaur. So he's not that far ahead.
Yep, you always, at least in my experience when racing, you always assume your opponent did all the right things, no matter if that's reasonable or not. So,
Quite true.
Chat was kind of mentioning it, but at a certain point you start to feel like, if this isn't pedestal, I lose, so I'm going all in on it, and you just make that gamble all the way.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that myself before. You were right! You're getting good today. Lots of calls.
Please don't bring out the steak. I swear I'm not a witch. I swear.
See, dataworld heading straight up the Turtle Rock, and mkosler finishing off Vitreous. He's gonna head off to Eastern to get his final crystal.
Yep, nothing beats silver arrows, Betty. 1 arrow per eye, 2 arrows per big eye, and you get through it nice and smooth.
Yeah, nice easy fight. Makes up for all the times that you've had to do it with bombs.
And Data heading into Gomo Dungeon here. Kozler going to have a very, very fast trip through Eastern to go clear out Armos, and then be on his way to Ganon's Tower.
Yep, he's cleared most of the dungeon already, so it'll be straight trip 3.
So as we approach it, I'll mention that we're going to be starting something soon, a little game we usually play here. In Ganon's Tower, there are 22 item locations that could have the big key, all around the basement. When Kozler finishes off the Armos, we'll start our guessing game. If you are a supporter of the Speed Gaming Network, either having given 250 or more bits to one of the channels, or having subbed to any of the channels, then you will be able to enter for the leaderboard. But everyone is free to play if you wish. You just don't get on the leaderboard without that. We'll start that very soon here once these Armos are dead. Dataworld going through the early part of T-Rock, which had nothing, before hitting the back end, which has everything he wants.
He's going to be a little disappointed to see that Ice Rod and Bombos were hanging out in Turtle Rock, but I think he knows what the seed's up to already by this stage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has 0 other options left.
mkosler using those silver arrows to good effect in the red Igors. The Armos Knights will be meeting the same demise.
Once again, the quickest fight in the world. Okay, and here we go with said game. Go ahead and get your guesses in chat. We'll be cutting this off as soon as Kozler walks into GT.
So what would your typical guess be?
You know, I normally guess 22 just for that tile room bet, but given the way the seed has gone so far with my guesses, I'm going to be nice and say 1.
I've decided that 5 will be my guess today. That'll be either the last chest on full right, or like full right side clear, or it'll be in the Stalfos room in the second chest. Third chest, in fact.
Both pretty solid locations to end up with. So one thing I miss about Key Sanity as a runner is the fact that you don't just walk into GT and walk straight upstairs. You have to go on the big key hunt.
Yeah, the big key hunt's half the fun of Ganon Star.
Oh, it's real fun as a viewer, and it's sometimes fun as a runner. But when you're in the end of a race and it's, you know, you feel like it's going to be real close, it's so much more stressful than just going straight to Gauntlet.
Yeah, definitely agree there.
First bomb of Data Worlds there, bounced back at him. The second bomb kind of went to the very edge of the screen, through the wall. Now we get way through the lovely crystal cutscene, and we get to see how clean mkosler can handle Gauntlet. Given him having NMG experience and his time there, I'm gonna expect it's gonna end up pretty clean.
It'll be nice fast Ganon Star.
So first 2 chests here in the Hope Room, we find 50 bucks, I'm wrong on that one, and 5 arrow capacity. Now, common play these days is to head right if you get a small key on the right side, but with nothing, you kind of have to go left.
The small key and torch, that's the end of Pure Bob.
Yep, Rip Bob, our lovely, friendly, glitch dandy fairy. So now we head up to the Stalfos room for chests 4, 5, 6, and 7.
It's my guess out the window.
Yep, a small key. You were almost there. Closer than I was.
There's our red meal. We'll definitely won't be doing any dying on the way up the gauntlet, hopefully. Always a horrible place to take a death.
Yeah, nothing. The only thing worse than dying at the top of Gauntlet is getting the sprite despawn at the top of Gauntlet.
There's dataworld entering go mode. Up his Bombos medallion on the laser bridge.
Yep, and Kozler is moving through the left side pretty well. Again, this is the NMG route, so he knows what he's doing over here.
And very tricksy use of the blue boomerang hookshot combo there to hit that switch. That's chest number 8 with the small key.
Or 9, I believe that was.
9. I miscounted the forward. Quite right.
Now on to Randomizer room, the room that is completely useless if you were doing anything except playing Randomizer, and even then, still usually useless. $20, heart piece, arrow capacity, and $5. Yep, it was about as useful as vanilla Rando Room.
Onwards to chest 14.
I would hope that Data would get the 20 heart dream here, but I know he skipped at least a couple of heart pieces.
That little blue beetle was helping out mkosler there, giving him a damage boost through that teleportation tab.
Yeah, because I see you missed that. I see you missed that bonk. So here, let me help.
Definitely rip off.
Bob's chest, number 14, just a piece of heart, and we're headed to Ice Armos.
Maybe get a vanilla big key just to make Kosler feel right at home.
I love the design for the bosses in GT of let's just make the Light World bosses, but slightly different. There's 15, 16, and 17, and still no big key, so we're headed right. There's a 1 in 5 chance at this point that it is a tile room big key.
So all you guys guessing 22, you are maybe in luck.
Of course, first we got the compass room, which is 4 chests. Everyone is always going to save tile room till last.
Could actually see dataworld making a tile room gamble, given how far behind he probably thinks he is. That could even up the race if there's some issues in the gauntlet.
Yeah, it would certainly make it go from something that's going to take a major comeback to something that's going to take still a major comeback, but a lot less catastrophic. There it is, in chest number 19.
Yeah, very lit guns turkey.
For some reason I thought it was BK, not Key. Thank you to our tracker, Elia, or no, that wasn't the tracker, that was you.
Yes,
what am I saying? I'm losing my mind sometimes. But thank you for getting that taken care of for me.
Of course.
Our first sub or supporter to guess it was Sigma of the Rose. Congratulations on the win there. Can't talk right now. mkosler falls off the ledge there, so you can just dash right through the cannonballs instead of having to avoid them, and enters into the main part of the gauntlet.
Making short work of the first room and getting quite the silver snipe on that Stalfos.
Yeah, that was an exceptionally well-shot silver there. Here in the gauntlet, all the enemies have pretty randomized movements, so you can't quite just do the exact same thing every time. But it's always wonderful to see people just breeze right through it like this.
Yeah, that gauntlet was extremely fast. I like the damage boost on the Beamos in the second room as well. That was pretty cool.
A very nice Silver's Lamola's kill.
On the fun section of the gauntlet where you get to use the Samaria for its intended use.
If I maintain that this room was designed before Samaria and they made that item just to make these two rooms work.
Yeah, Samaria-less climbs are always annoying. I can never figure out how to do that first time room. I always end up like shooting arrows at stuff for like 10 minutes.
It's one of those things where you're so used to having it that when you get there without it, you're like, magic?
It's like the Turtle Rock torch puzzle in the right hand room at the entrance. Like when you don't have hook shot, your mind just goes blank. Yeah, see dataworld getting his last crystal. He'll be on his way up to Ganon's tower shortly.
mkosler taking a little bit of a detour there to fill up his magic, likely in part just a safeguard against the despawn glitch that can happen.
Glitches is overly annoying. It occurs whenever you try and climb up those stairs at exactly the same time as a lamp goes out in the previous room, and it despawns all of the sprites, including Moldorm and Aghanim and things that you need to kill.
Yeah, one of the more impactful cases of Link to the Past having trouble doing two things at the same exact time.
Making short work of Troldorm.
Yep, and now he'll be headed off to Aghanim 2, and then off to face Ganon himself.
This is the room is the true final boss of Ganon's Tower, I think. So you get that slightly wrong, and it can go horrible.
Very much so. Now, I'm curious if dataworld gets into GT here in an expected amount of time. It should be before mkosler finishes Ganon. And will he make that tile room gamble like you guessed, given how far behind he must feel?
It's a very awkward gamble to make because there isn't a key on right side first two, so you'd need to go left side and then right side to gamble the tile room. I could see him just doing something more conventional. It would be
you get to tile room without a small key. It's to get to the compass room you need one.
Oh right, I thought the key was in the first floor. I'm being silly. Sorry. Well, hopefully he'll make it a bit closer. Then we're only maybe 7 or 8 cannon falls away from a tie.
Yeah, and with Butter Sword and Silvers, the chances of any issues on Ganon are very, very low. With Butter, you get these nice 6 hits on the first 2 phases, 4 on the second, and then your 4 silver arrows on the third. And dataworld has chosen not to gamble on tile room, which is almost inarguably the correct decision. But it will add a good chunk to his time here, unfortunately.
Unfortunately so. I see mkosler in phase 3 of Ganon already.
So I do think Data is on pace to sub 2 this seed, despite the unnecessary pedestal pull, which is very impressive time-wise.
Yeah, it definitely is. Essentially 100%ing the seed. Sub 2 is very respectable time for that. Definitely faster than I could ever do.
Gets that first silver on Ganon, gets a torch glitch after almost missing it. And this is a good setup for a double. There it is. That's going to be GG.
Congratulations to mkosler. Assuming you don't fall right at the very end. I've seen that at least once. It was hilarious.
It's the saddest thing to happen as a runner, but very fun as a viewer. And that will wrap it up. mkosler has finished the race with a time of 1:43.43 on SRTV. GG's.
It was a fantastic time. Especially considering the number of pendant dungeons we had to go into, or we went into, looking for Ice Rock.
Yep, given all they went through, getting some sub 145 was not easy on that particular seed, because it definitely baited you into those pendant dungeons.
You see dataworld cleaning up the random room. He's about to head off the Armless Knights.
He is dropping his bombs along the way here.
Not a happy bunny, but looks things.
I'm going to see about getting mkosler, our winner, in here for an interview.
It's always fun to chat to them about the seed, see what their opinion of it is.
Yep, were we going to watch the whole thing unfold, you know, with wider knowledge? They don't get that benefit. They kind of figure things out piecemeal throughout.
Yeah, we were talking about maybe mkosler thought he was behind a lot of the seed. We'll definitely need to ask him what his opinion of that was. Cleaning up Armless Knight's red and sharpish. We'll be getting over to the right side of Gan's Tower to get that big key for dataworld very soon.
You know, I just realized we were talking about gambling tile room, and that was actually not where the big key was. I confused myself. It was so close to right that it just stuck in my head that that was where it was.
That's a very good point. This is well he didn't gamble tile room. Dataworld's coming up to the compass room now. Be getting his big key and heading up going up shortly. And there's that half magic that we're talking about being missing in chat. It's essentially just the cape is missing now and the third shield. So that the net on the floating island.
Okay, I'm bringing mkosler into the server for the stream here momentarily. And we have mkosler here. GG, sir.
Well played.
Oh yeah.
That'll do it. Welcome, welcome.
Hey.
So what do you think of that for a seed? It was quite interesting to commentate.
I thought when everything ended up being on the rest of Dark Death Mountain, the ice rod was there, the bow was there, Bombos was there, and I had just cleared out all of Ice Palace. I even, you know, sequence broke pod, thinking, oh, maybe I'll find Bombos in there, so that I'll know that it can't be in Misery Mire, all that stuff.
Yeah, there was you made a lot of dips you didn't need to. You seemed to be avoiding that trip into Turtle Rock. The seed seemed to be shouting at you for quite a while. There was a fair amount of loot in Turtle Rock. You just not, like, desperately not want to go in without the ice rod, or what's the plan?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I know TR always had it's vanilla ice rod is in TR. I know that's the meme, but I had just played a seed where it was like everything was screaming to me that the prog item was in TR, and it was in like totally worthless pendant Ice Palace or whatever. So that just kind of thinking back to other things just kind of killed me. I'm trying to remember where Quake was.
And Quake was on the Sick Kid.
Sick Kid. Okay. And then my first bottle was in East Death Mountain, right? So, yeah, maybe I should have just instantly bolted up for there once I saw that. I don't know.
Well, in the end, it didn't make a massive amount of difference. Dataworld had a similar line of thought to yourself. He avoided Turtle Rock like the plague. A bit more than yourself, actually. He's actually pulled the pedestal.
Oh, really?
A shield there, by the way.
Jeez. The only thing that it was just Ice Rod and the Bombos that could have possibly been there.
He actually got the bow on his first trip up Death Mountain, and
okay.
You guys were in Palace of Darkness at exactly the same time and did exactly the same stuff and left at exactly the same time, even though you sequence broke into it. He ended up abandoning Helmasaur and then going back in to get his pedestal bow.
So he must have, because where was Cane of Burna? Cane of Burna wasn't on Death Mountain.
I can't remember where Cane of Burna was, actually. I remember you finding it relatively early.
Oh, it was behind. It was in Hammer Pegs. So he either he just tanked the Spike Cave out of logic, or maybe he just did the ordering a little bit differently. Because I went right after I did Desert Palace. I went straight back up with that Fire Rod to do Tower of Hera, and so he must have waited or something like that until he had maybe Lamp.
Yeah, he did a Dark World tour after he did Desert Palace, and then went up to Hera after he did his full, like the standard Dark World anti-clockwise tour that you did as well. You just did a different order, which left him up Death Mountain with the Cane of Burna.
Yeah, it was technically out of logic for me to go into that Spike Cave at the time, so I was thinking if the seed pulls me up to TR, then that's when I'll finally go back to Spike Cave, and it's what happened. But I just didn't read it quick enough. Well, I guess I did read it quick enough because I won, but.
Yeah, you both made the same call to avoid Turtle Rock without the Ice Rod. In the end, that's the call that mattered, and you just decided to just give up on the Pendant Dungeons a little bit earlier than Dataworld did.
You guys were actually pretty much following the same route through a large chunk of the early seed. Then when you headed to Ice Palace, Dataworld headed to Swamp Palace. You reacted to Ice having nothing by heading to TR. Dataworld kind of doubled down on the pedestal dream at that point. So up until that, you were both pretty much dead even.
Yeah, I felt really good about my execution in the seed. Only thing I didn't do was I should poke, did the boots dash into Moth, but other than that, I think I did really well in my execution.
Yeah, your play was flawless. Your gauntlet was fantastic, showing a skill.
What was that again?
Your gauntlet was a fantastic showing of your skill.
Oh, thanks.
New game or your no major glitches experience is definitely showing through there.
Yeah, I saw somebody in that Stalfos room. I actually saw somebody in one of these rando races do that thing where you diagonal down.
I think your mic just cut out there, mkosler.
Hello, testing.
There we go. You're back.
Yeah, I was saying it was one of the rando races that I saw where I saw somebody do that thing where they shoot the bow, they go diagonal down and shoot the bow in the Stalfos room to hit the one on the far end pretty consistently, and I thought that was super cool, and so I started adding that into mine.
Yeah, that was a great pot shot. We're all very impressed with that shot. And
just to jump in real quick, Dataworld has finished. GG's to him. Official SRTV time of 1:54:05. Very good for a blind pull of the pedestal and pretty much 100% in the game time.
Yeah, sub 2 hour, 100% randomizer is pretty strong.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see if we can get him to join us in here as well. So out of all the stuff in that seed, what would you say is like the most memorable thing about it?
Sword start. That's like a 2%. That was awesome.
Yeah, that is very rare. We were talking about how rare it was, and then boom, there's a sword.
Yeah, you get to do all the energy strats.
And Dataworld has joined us here. Welcome, sir. GG's.
Thank you. GG.
GG Data.
So how you feeling about that one?
Well, I felt really awesome pulling the ice rod off the pedestal. Yeah, I kind of went off the deep end there. So, but I was really happy with my execution, and overall, I think it was a pretty good run. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, finishing in a time of 154 with a pretty much 100% of the game is fantastic. You played very well to make that happen.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward that both Bombos and the Ice Rod were in Turtle Rock. I had hoped to fight one or the other and then maybe dive Turtle Rock, but overall I was pretty happy with my execution, and I think it was a solid run. So.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Data. I was like, there's no way both of them are up there. I dipped Pod and Ice Palace, but I skipped out on Swamp.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you have a 172 clear rate, and for 143 that's also pretty awesome, so good game.
Both of you played fantastically throughout that seed. It was just a few minor routing differences that made the difference there.
Yeah, the big routing difference, I kind of told Kosler how this happened as well. He was going into Ice Palace to make the dip in there before TR, when you were going into Swamp. When Ice turned up empty, he went straight to the play on Turtle Rock, while you went and finished up the pendant dungeons. That was pretty much the only major difference between your two runs.
Yeah, I thought if he was, I would kind of expect him to either go Turtle Rock right away or not at all, and so I kind of hoped it was not at all. But yeah,
It's
the seed was very front loaded, so a lot of gambles to make.
Yeah, like Zora having both mitts and flute.
Yeah, I think after 30 minutes we were 2 or 3 items away from go mode. Bow, Bombos.
Yeah. And I hate that's a V29, and I hate that it's because it's just what happened in this race. It's just like, hey, it's needle on a haystack and hope your opponent doesn't check whatever.
Yeah, I guess, but overall it's gonna average out anyway. So, but congratulations on going 3-0. And
thanks. Good luck on your next races.
Yep. Thanks.
Yeah, Turn 1's still completely respectable. There's still 4 weeks left to dig up another couple of wins to keep yourself in the running for the bracket stage.
Yeah, if I feel if every race goes like this, or I execute like this, I have a really good shot. So I'm pretty happy overall.
Anything to add, Mentos Matt?
Trying to remember if there was anything in particular. Oh yeah, also just kind of shoutouts if you watch this back. I'm sorry for cursing you guys with like 3 things throughout the course of the seed. I apologize.
So it was you.
Yeah, I think you called the Turtle Rock play about 15 minutes into the seed.
Yeah, that one was pretty early. And I also called the shield on the pedestal.
Oh yeah, the other cool thing was Moon Pearl in Checkerboard Cave.
Yeah, you called that. It was only about 5 minutes before the check, but I think you called that one as well. Yeah, that's always a fun location for the Minport.
Definitely one of my favorites. So, do either of you guys have any final thoughts on the seed or on the tournament as a whole?
Nope, been having fun.
Yep, same. I'd like just a quick shout out to all the commentators, administrators, restreamers, trackers, viewers. Thank you for making this happen. It's a wonderful tournament, and we get another 12 weeks, I believe. So a lot of fun.
Yep, every day is Rando Day here.
Yeah, it helps me get through the work week.
So with that, we'll throw out a general recommendation that if you enjoyed what you saw today, these guys putting up fantastic execution, fantastic runs through this game, feel free to drop them a follow on Twitch. I'm sure you will see more of them in races, see them playing this outside of the tournament. So that is definitely something that you would want to do if you want to see some more high-level execution play like that. Other than that, a shout out to our tracker, Iceman FL, or F1, not FL, I can't read. And a shout out to my co-com, Eliana.
Glad to be here. You did a fantastic job as well, Mental Smart.
So with that, I think we will wrap it up here. We do have plenty more rando throughout the day. Pretty much races going on the entire stretch of this Saturday.
Yeah, a race just started over in Speed Gaming 4 if you're interested in more. That's where I'm going anyway.
Yep, that one just started. If you're interested in a little bit later stage one also just started an hour ago on ALTTP Randomizer. So you got a couple options on where you can jump into them. But hope to see you around the rest of the races all day.
See you all next week.